If you haven't seen it yet, I put out a poll yesterday to just check to see what kind of tools people were looking at to simplify certain things. One of the options was go-to-market, the other one was around problem solving, the third one was around decision making, and the fourth one was around achieving results. And right now, problem solving is in the rear. So it is 0% want to see problem solving. So I thought what I do for today's Whiteboard Wednesday is start with problem solving. No, see, there's the dry sense of humor. We're going to start with go-to-market. And you just want to like simplify, how do we think about go-to-market when it comes to someone who is just getting ready to start a business? Just getting ready to start a business. Well, one of the first questions I like to ask is, and you can do this with your team, you can actually do this inside a team who has been operating for years, and you can find out where some of your inconsistencies, lack of alignment is, and where things are disconnected. But let's go through this, just getting ready to start a business. The first thing I want to know is, what problem are we solving? Now, you guys have seen this. This is the top of the problem-solving framework. Also use it for account planning. It looks like a hexagon. But what problem are we solving? There has to be a high level of clarity around what problem are we solving. What problem are we solving? The next thing I want to do, before we even get into a discussion around who, is understand, why does that problem persist? Why does the problem continue to persist? Why do people struggle with the problem? If the reason why people are struggling with solving for this thing that we're working on, this thing that we're delivering to the market, is because people just don't care about it, people don't know how to do it, people are doing it in a different way, whatever. But I want to understand what problem we're solving. Why does that problem persist? Why is it important to solve? This is that whole impact thing. What's the value of solving? If I know the problem and I know why it continues to persist and why it's important to solve, then the next set of questions, and just think about this, you could go through the framework or you can just list these things out. Who is actually impacted by the problem? Who has the problem? And then who cares about those who are impacted or have? And this is that whole Mary Poppins piece, to problem solving. So I said I wasn't going to get into problem solving, but we started with problem solving because the business that we're focused on has to start with a problem. It can't start with the solution that you're delivering to the marketplace. So in order to earn the right to move to the next part, now we can get into, we need to answer those three questions at the top. Then we can start to look at questions like how. How do people feel that first time that they experience the problem? How do they experience the problem? What are these steps that they go to? Where do they go next? How do they start thinking about solving the problem? We've got to be able to answer the problem, impact, the people, and then the experience. All we're getting into is putting ourselves in the shoes of the customers. They go through this process of becoming problem aware. So we go from unknown problem to known problem. So we become problem aware. Unknown, kind of ambivalent. Problem aware, we're sad. To identifying solutions. That's where we come in, to identifying solutions, working our way through this journey, identifying the solutions that exist. And when we go into that whole solutions piece, there should be some kind of questions that they ask. So beyond how do they feel, how do they know, how do they start to solve, it's what are some of the questions that they start to ask people inside their network to help solve those problems. When we're doing this initial go-to-market, we're starting to figure out exactly how do we land where our customers land, we should be able to answer these questions. If your team struggles with answering these questions at a high level, what problems do we solve? Why do those persist? Who do we serve? How are they experiencing this thing? And then what questions they start asking around the solution, then you're going to have a lack of alignment inside your business. If you're doing this as an individual and you're going out to market and you're working on this on your own, if you can't answer these questions, how are you going to know what you want to put in your marketing and communication. How are you going to know what kind of questions you want to ask those people when you engage with them? How will you know what some of those next steps are that the customer is going to go through relative to their buyer journey? Now, this is just an initial stage. When we start simplifying, how do we build out our general kind of go-to-market? Once we understand this piece, then we can start designing for customer experience. How do they move from unknown problem to known problem to unknown solution to known solution to actually implementing those solutions? When we go through that buyer journey piece, that customer decision-making process, that's more like the game of life. We apply board game thinking to this. It's more like the game of life. And we go through our approach, the way that we actually engage with customers, that's more like Monopoly. We identify, we engage, we establish objectives, clarify next steps, call to action, engage, objectives, next steps, etc. So taking the whiteboard, starting to simplify this approach from an initial go-to-market perspective and realizing there's some work that needs to be done before we start to establish that how do we create demand, how do we actually acquire, and then where do we identify ways to retain and expand our customers? And that's the Dare to Grow model. It's a lot of stuff to put up on a whiteboard real quickly here on a Wednesday, but I wanted to, as we start working on this, simplifying our general go-to-market, that we've got to understand where our potential blind spots are, what questions we should be asking ourselves. And when you go through this exercise with your team, and test this with your team, test them about the problem, test them around the impact, test them around the who. And if you don't see complete alignment across the organization or alignment with self, if you're launching your own business, then you've got some other work to do. You've got some opportunities to create some clarity. This is hard stuff. It doesn't need to be overly complicated. The way that we can simplify it is focusing first on one item, then moving to the next, then moving to the third, getting into the fourth, starting to identify the fifth, and then building out that sixth. And if we work through that process, we'll start to simplify things, keep ourselves really clear on where we're focusing time, energy, and attention. Let me know if this video was valuable. I am working on a sheet that will help walk through this kind of a Mad Libs approach to building out your go-to-market. And right now, my go-to-market playbook is top on this list of things that people are interested in when we talk about simplifying tools. This is a really tough tool to simplify, but it can be done. Remember, we simplify by reducing variables. We add complexity by adding variables. We simplify by reducing those variables. So let's simplify. Thank you.